Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here on my YouTube channel. And before we even get started, have you just felt like you're performing? Like you have stopped living and all you are doing right now is when you wake up in the morning, it's like, and action. And you're just an actor, right? In this movie called life. Is that what you feel like? I completely understand, and that is why I'm going to be talking about come back to yourself. So hi and welcome to Your Life Cheerleader. This is the podcast where I uplift, encourage, and I am just here to just be your cheerleader in life every single step of your journey. This week I want to talk about coming back to ourselves. So often we might just feel like we're just performing, as opposed to living. And we're showing up for everybody else and we're tired, we're, hurting on the inside, but we're just smiling on the outside. We're smiling through this exhaustion and we're just trying to make ourselves fit into these rooms. And when we go into the rooms, people don't even ask how we're doing, or if they ask how we're doing, they don't really stick around to hear how we're actually doing. It's just a formality, like a hi, how are you doing? Not a hi, how are you doing? Let's really talk about what's going on. And so it's not about, I'm not here to talk about we're going to fix your life. That's not what's going on today. I'm going to leave Ayanna Van Zandt to fix your life. But what I do want to talk about is returning back to you. We're going back to one. If you're in the film and television production world, we're going to return back to you. Who you were, who you felt that you were. And right now, this version of you, it's like we're in survival mode, right? We got to make it happen. We got to make it happen. But who is that true person? What happened? So let's just go ahead, take a breath. And it's going to be an honest breath, okay? Because this right here is time for you to go back home. We're going back to one. We're going back to home base, right? So just know nothing is wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you because there are other people, lots of people who are experiencing this. I experienced this. And you didn't lose sight of who you were because you were weak. No, we had went through so many things in our life, so we had to adapt. We had to survive. We had to do what we had to do to survive. But right now, in this moment, we're going to choose differently, right? So that fight or flight mode, that right there is called, oh my goodness, what is that? I'm trying to think back to what the actual term is called. Okay, that's right. It's called sympathetic. That fight or flight mode, that is our sympathetic nervous system, what's going on. And now what we really want to be is in that resting, where we can digest things, the parasympathetic nervous system. That is where we're trying to get to, right? That's where we're back in recovery and we're most calm. So, but it's, kind of good to have both in life, right? Because you never want to be just too relaxed. Sometimes you need that fight or flight mode to maybe kind of motivate you, right? So the sympathetic and parasympathetic, these nervous systems, they're what regulates our bodily functions. This is what controls us. But I'm not here to get into the science behind it. Just know that we've got two nervous systems here that are working: sympathetic and parasympathetic. Fight or flight and rest. So right now we're going to go, we need some of that rest. We need some of that calming. We need to bring us back to one. So a lot of that deals with reframing, right? We've got to reframe our mindset because we're moving so fast. We're moving so fast. And like I said, it's that fight or flight, sympathetic. And when we are moving fast, sometimes we're like Tokyo drifters and we're just drifting out. And we've disconnected from our true selves. We've disconnected from our bodies. We've disconnected from what we need, right? And it didn't happen like all at one time. No, it happens over time, and it's like we trade things, right? We trade rest for productivity. You know, if I sleep, I'm not going to be productive. That's what we, kind of been ingrained in our minds. We've traded truth for peace. And we've traded some of our joy for responsibility. So now we gotta get back, we've gotta shift back, we've gotta reframe this mindset. So now this is where, because we're in training, in our training right now, it's gonna be shifting. So, but just know that you are not broken. You're not broken. You just have all of life coming at you and you're just feeling buried right now, but you're not broken. And we've got expectations. We've got to pay the rent. We've got to pay the mortgage. We've got to make sure that our kids are going to a great school. We've got to, be a certain type of spouse for our significant other. We've got all these expectations. We've got to perform on the job. We've got to, sometimes we start taking all these responsibilities on and saying yes. But we really wanted to say no, right? And, before you know it, these little habits, they're not serving us anymore, right? Staying up late because you got to work on something for work. It's not serving you anymore because now you're not being productive and you're losing who you were. You might be turning into that angry old man. You might be grumpy. And it's because you're losing sleep because you felt the need to take on these extra activities for work, thinking that you're going to be productive by not sleeping, but it's the adverse, right? So the first step though, it's not like we need like this whole crazy dramatic change. First step, pretty much the first step in a lot of things is awareness. Are you aware that this is happening? Are you aware that you are slowly changing from who you were? So that's the first step. So awareness, right? And ask yourself some questions. I've got 3 questions for you. What do you need right now? In this moment, what do you need? What feels heavy that you've been ignoring? And what part of me have I been postponing? So what do you need right now? You might need an actual nap, or you might need to eat something because maybe you have a headache because you haven't eaten or had any water. What feels heavy that you've been ignoring? What's just been weighing on you that maybe you've tried to put off? Was it, I know I need to get into this gym. I know I need to get into the gym. And then what part of me have I been postponing? Was it that hobby that you like doing, that craft that you enjoyed, or the book that you've postponed? I'm just going to wait till I can push through X, Y, and Z before I can get to that. So just ask yourself those 3 questions. That's how we're going to start. And just know you don't need permission to be yourself again. You don't need permission to restart. All it takes is a little bit of action and courage. You've got it. You have it inside, right? So, and you know that you've got it. And you can hear it in the back here. It's just whispering to you. It's not going to say, hey, get back to one. Get back to who you are. But you're going to hear it back here. I used to do this. It used to be like this. So just know that you are allowed to return back to yourself. You can get back to who you were. And awareness, like I said, is the first step. And no, you don't need fixing, but you do need to listen to the inner voice. You do need listening. Okay, because you can choose yourself again. So let's take some steps so we can make some changes. And when it's going to be, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. So this week, just baby steps, right? And I just want you to just become aware. Just notice. Notice yourself. Notice when you're rushing. What is that feeling like? Notice when you ignore your body. And I want you to notice, definitely, when we say yes, but we really mean no. Because we know, after we've told somebody, yes, I'll do that. And then we say, why did I do that? Why did I say that I would say yes? I know I've done it. Part of that is people pleasing because we want to fulfill their expectations for us, right? But awareness. Awareness is that first step. Awareness is that path that's going to lead you back to where you come from, who you were. So we need to self-reconnect. There's different ways for us to connect, to reconnect with ourselves. And you always hear me talking about, what is it? Getting back to nature, taking a walk. You know, you got to just take time, just pause for a minute. What was that hobby that you like doing? Was it crafting? You know, and then engage in a little bit of self-care. It's okay to pamper yourself a little bit. You know, give yourself a massage. You know, your knee hurts. Get you some little oil and massage your knee. So sometimes you got to just spend time with you and realign some of your values. Because sometimes we forget, we just keep going and going and going, and we forget that, you know what? I remember I used to say that I wasn't going to do X, Y, and Z. And you got to set some boundaries because you got to protect your peace. Setting boundaries, saying no. No, you can't attend everything. No, you can't be everywhere. No, you can't help everybody. So, but again, no. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing at all is wrong with you. It's just time to come back to yourself, right? So take a breath and know you are not late, you're not behind, and you're right on time to come back to yourself, okay? So I know you can do this. I am 1000% cheering you on. It's time to get back to yourself. All right? Back to one. I'm Sky. Thank you so much for joining me. If you feel the urge to share this with your friends and family, please do so. I definitely appreciate that. Please like, subscribe, follow me. You can always follow me on Instagram, Sky with an E, butterfly with an I. I'm here for you at the end of it all. And I just want you to succeed and get back to yourself. Because you gotta take care of yourself first before we can help others, right? So, thank you again. I'll see you back here next week.